Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy Jamal. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm back for another video, and today we're actually working on one of the cars. It feels like it's been so long since we've actually worked on one of the cars, but today we're working out of the new garage. We're going to be working on the Cadillac CTS-V today. Now, what we're actually going to be doing today is replacing the sunroof shade cover, the cloth piece that goes back and forth over the sunroof. It's a very common failure item on these Gen 3 Cadillac CTSs, and chances are, if you do have a Gen 3 Cadillac CTS, it's either been replaced already by the dealership or you've replaced it yourself. So the reason I am doing this myself is because my car is out of its bumper-to-bumper warranty, which is what it comes with the factory. It does have a certified pre-owned warranty on it to 100,000 miles, which I still have. And I took it up to the dealership and they looked at it and they said, since it's a sunroof shade cover and not like one of the sunroof motors that went out, they can't warranty it because it's considered a trim piece. And then they hit me with an estimate of $1,500. I think it was like $1,504.92 to replace the sunroof shade. So I said, nope, I'm not going to do that this time. The sunroof itself, I really don't use it that often. But as the weather's starting to cool down here, I like to at least have that shade open and let some of that sunlight come through and kind of brighten up the car a bit. So it's something I don't use very often, but it's definitely something I want to use now that it's getting a little bit cooler. And just having broken parts on the car just, doesn't sit well with me. So the part itself I have over there in the box was only $230 from GM Parts Online, I think is where I got it. So $232 part, $1,500 to replace it. You do the math, it's roughly $1,300 in labor. So today we're going to attempt to do it ourselves, and hopefully we don't screw anything up too bad. I have heard a lot of horror stories, like some people said that you have to remove the windshield to do this, but I've looked into it a bunch and I think I should be able to knock it out. I don't think we have to remove the windshield. It should just simply be A pillar, B pillar, C pillars, the sun visors, and maybe that rear view mirror, and we should be able to pull that headliner down and replace the part. So let's go ahead and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually the part number for the sunroof shade cover that I need for my car. This is a black cloth sunroof shade. One thing I did forget to mention was that my car is a CTS-V, but this process and this part number should be applicable to all Generation 3 Cadillac CTS models. So the part number there is 229-26558, and it's for the black sunroof shade cover, or the sunroof shade for a Generation 3 Cadillac. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this thing and we're gonna get into the install. So let's get it going. There's the part, ladies and gentlemen. $1,500 to replace that right there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so let's go ahead and hop in the car and I'll show you exactly what happened with my sunroof shade. So this issue actually occurred a few months ago when I went to go open the sunroof cover one day. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's kind of wrinkled right there, and it shouldn't look like that, and it's starting to sag a little bit. So basically when I went to go open the sunroof shade, this button here, it started just basically crunching itself. It wasn't rolling up like it should, and it made it about a quarter of the way open, and I heard it kind of crunching itself, and I just closed it back up. So that's basically, like, it just destroyed itself. It literally mangled itself. And these Cadillac CTSs are known for this happening. So kind of disappointing that a car this expensive, a sunroof shade little mechanism like that, just basically destroys itself. And then you have to end up paying $1,500 if you don't have a warranty through a dealership to get it replaced. So hopefully this is just a one-time replacement. I replace it and it's good forever, or for as long as I own the car at least, because this is a pretty involved process and it's definitely something I don't want to be doing multiple times. So I'm actually going to attempt to open it right now because I think it needs to be open to remove it. So let's see what happens when I press this button here to open it. You can see, oh, you see it? You see it kind of just destroying itself? Yep, that's what happened. So it's definitely going to need to be replaced. But we've got the sunroof open now at least, so we'll get better lighting for the instructions. So one thing that's really important, ladies and gentlemen, is when you're dealing with the headliner in pretty much any modern car, you have to realize that there's airbags everywhere. So you can see right there, airbag there. There's curtain airbags. There's airbags in the A pillars, the B pillars. There's airbags literally everywhere in the car. And so you can do this without disconnecting the battery, but I think for my sake and for my safety, I'm going to disconnect the battery just so that I don't have any airbags accidentally go off while I'm doing this install. So the battery in this car is actually in the trunk, so we're going to hop back there and just remove that negative terminal and basically undo the battery so that we don't have, God forbid, we don't have any kind of airbags go off or anything while I'm doing while I'm replacing that sunroof shade. So there should just be a 10mm holding this on here. Loosen it up a bit. Yep, sure enough, it's getting loose. And then should we just pop that off? Boom. Get that out of the way. You guys can see, I don't know if you guys can tell, let me bump that up. Boom, battery disconnected. It's contacting the plastic part of the battery, so we should have no power going to it, so we should be good. All right, people, we're back inside the car now, and we're gonna make a checklist of things that need to be removed. So basically, the sun visors need to come off, the little clip that holds it on. The A pillar is gonna need to come off. The B pillar is gonna need to be disconnected, and the C pillars back there are gonna have to come off as well. And then obviously we also have our handles, our 4 grab handles on both sides. Those are all gonna have to come off. And basically that should be everything holding it to the car. We're gonna have to take this little panel off here too, but it should just be able to pop off with clips. The good part about this install is I think everything is basically held in with bolts and screws and clips. So nothing too crazy if you think about it in that sense. You just have to make sure that everything goes back where it needs to go. And like anything, double check your work and you should be able to, or we should be able to knock this out. I'm not like a professional GM mechanic or anything. I don't have any type of certifications. I just watch videos, learn how to do them online. I'm a certified YouTube mechanic, so we're gonna try to knock this thing out today. One thing I do use is these panel removal tools. I got these at Harbor Freight Tools for like $10. I think these things are really safe to use to pop any panels out. It's not like using a flathead screwdriver that can potentially damage things. There's just little plastic pry pieces to pop things out. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this panel right here. It should be just clipped on, I would think. Come on. Oh, there, that one's popped there. Boom. 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 Comes right out. We've got a bunch of electrical connections that we need to undo as well, so let's go ahead and get that undone. Here's a close-up on this little instrument switch panel that we just removed. Every connector on the back is different, so it's an easy way to remember how it all is going to go back together. As you can see, all the connections there are kind of dangling. Every connector kind of comes off a different way, so definitely don't try to force anything. There's some kind of a clip holding almost all those connectors in, so just look for that clip, undo it. This white one, you had to pop this little tab up to get it to come off, and everything else was held on with some kind of a clip that you just basically had to press, and it was able to come free. So we've got this little panel off, something that you definitely don't want to damage, you don't want to lose, so make sure you guys put that in a safe place. The next step is going to be to remove the sun visor. We're going to pop this thing out, and to remove this little piece, there's a little cover on the back that just pops out from this little opening here, and there's I think there's a bolt or a screw that holds that on. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. Yeah, right there is a screw that's holding that piece on, so that's a Torx T15. And just undo that screw and this should be able to just fall right out. We'll take care of that piece, and then this piece is the actual visor part of it is held on with 3 Torx T15 screws as well. You just have to pop this little cover off, which you can do by hand. Slide that back, and then you can see 3 T15 screws that you have to remove, and that should remove the sun visor and all the components. There also is a wire in there, I believe, for the light in the mirror of the sun visor. So we're gonna see if we actually need to undo that or if we can just leave that dangling, and that if that could give us enough room to basically get that sunroof shade out. So I'm gonna put this back on the tripod and we're gonna undo these. Alright guys, sorry I kind of had to cut that clip off, but I finally got this thing loose, the sun visor. I think I'm just going to let it hang because there's no connector there to undo it, and so I just don't want to risk messing up that light trying to get it off, so I'm just going to let it hang for now. So as you guys can see, once you get those 3 screws undone, there's these little plastic clips. This piece is kind of loose, so just be wary of that. Make sure it goes back where it needs to go. And then the part that I had trouble with was this little clip on the actual visor itself. There's these 2 little tabs that need to go in for it to come out, and working through that little area there, you have to kind of get like a screwdriver up in there to try to pry those tabs in so you can pull down on it and get it out. So that one's out now. I'm gonna let it dangle, and hopefully I don't need to remove it because I don't want to try to undo this connection here and potentially ruin the light that's in the sun shade visor. In order to remove the handle, there's these 2 8mm bolts holding it on. You have to pop these little plastic covers off, and there's 8mm bolts, and you should just be able to unscrew them and pull the handle off. So I'm going to do that now. Boom, simple enough. This little piece here is also floating, so beware of that whenever you put this thing back together. Alright, now moving on to the rear one. This one is different because there is a light on these handles, but there should just be a connector back behind there that you just have to undo and it should come right off. Give it a little bit of force. Boom. Boom. Pops right out. Oh. Had to finagle it, I guess. Boom. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so now we need to remove the B pillar, C pillar, the A pillar. And to do this, we're going to have to pull the weather stripping down. This should just come right off. Just pull it. No big deal. It's all pliable rubber. Just come right off. Pull it right down to there. This panel here, I'm gonna pop that off a little bit. Put that down. Same thing in the front. Come on. Like that. And then that's off. Lower this all the way. Should be able to pop this B pillar off. There's a little clip that goes up underneath the headliner, so make sure you don't lose that. Something fell. Don't know what that was. Okay, that's loose. We should be able to just leave it like this, I would think, or we could just take it completely off. Just leave it like that. I'll let it rest like that, and that frees it from that there. Full enough. Just gonna let it hang like that. Probably be okay. And then finally we have to pop that C-pillar off. One thing you will notice is there's a little airbag plastic piece there. It says airbag. Behind there is, I believe, a bolt that we have to undo, so you need to pop that out, undo that bolt to get that off. Boom. Alright, so this bolt behind here is a 7mm. I'm going to undo that. Don't drop it, ideally. Boom. She's out. And we should be able to pop this panel off now. I think. She's coming. Boom. I think I'm gonna try to leave everything where I don't have to completely take it out. Just let it hang like that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so at this point I'm fairly confident that we have everything undone that we need to undo. We've got our panel undone, A pillars undone, B pillars undone, C pillars undone. Our two handles are out of the way, our sun visor is dangling, so that should free up everything. One thing I'm gonna do off camera real quick is undo all the stuff on the driver's side. I showed you one side, it should be the exact same on the other side, so I'm gonna undo that real quick, and then I'll catch back up with you when it's time to actually drop the headliner and gain access to the sunroof, shade, cover, whatever you want to call it. Alright, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We got that side all completely done. B pillar's down, A pillar's loose, C pillar's loose. It didn't take that long once you kind of have done a side and you kind of know what you're doing. But I think at this point, guys, we're completely free and we're ready to try to pull this headliner down to access that sunroof shade assembly. So I'm going to put this on a tripod and we're just going to go for it, I guess. Ooh. There it is. I can see it. Question is, do I need to lower it more than that? We're pretty much at full separation on the headliner. It is still kind of held up in the back a little bit. I don't think I'm going to pull it all the way down and completely free it from the headline from the roof, because I do think I have enough space. One thing I didn't hit on was there's two little screws on this under that panel, there's two little torque screws that are held screwed into the roof, so I just had to undo those. So make sure you look for those when you pull that panel off. But we're pretty much loose, and I can pull that headliner down and show you what we're working with. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you can tell, but this right here is what we're after, this sunroof shade assembly. You can see there's some screws that hold it in, one there. There's one in the back corner over there, and then same back corner over there, and then that one there. So there's 4 total screws that hold that assembly in. So we're gonna undo those screws, and we should be able to just pop this out. I think the motor works with the frame to open and close it. So I think those screws are the only things that hold that in. So I'm gonna undo those screws, put this back on the tripod, and see what happens. So the 4 screws that hold that sun shade in are Torx T25. I've got it on a ratcheting wrench here because you can't really put a screwdriver out because the headliner is blocking it. So you want something that's got a little turn in it that's a little bit shorter. So pull these out. Don't worry about messing these screws up because the new part comes with new screws. First one out. Boom, second screw out. I got my impact ratchet to speed things up a little bit. Here's the third. Alright, all 4 screws are out now. Now we have to remove the assembly. See how this is gonna... Basically it pops backwards. It should fall right down. Boom. That's it. That's all she wrote, boys. We got it out. Holy moly. That's it. Thing is out. That's awesome. Okay. We're halfway there. We've got the old one out. Now we just gotta pop the new one in. Alright guys, so we're fixing to put the new part in. One thing to note is there's a little track here that it needs to slide up and into, and then you have these little like prongs right here on both sides, and that's actually how it opens and closes. So these prongs right here, you have to make sure to line up the new shade assembly. You have these little teeth thing right here, those need to go into those prongs so that you don't have any issues opening and closing, and so that it actually opens and closes. So that needs to go in there, and then you got to make sure this tab here gets lined up into that track to make sure that everything is seated properly. So we're gonna try to go ahead and throw this in. It's kind of gonna be difficult actually to make sure that this lines up. Boom, falls in. So you'll know when your little prongs are lined up is it'll kind of fall into place. So, and I'm moving this now and it's not moving, so that's a good thing. And then you got to make sure that these 2 little kind of right angle clips are in the track. So those are in the track. I think that's tight. Our screw holes are lining up. Should be ready to screw it in. I'm gonna do the front ones first. Alright guys, so I have some explaining to do, and so the last clip you just saw was actually filmed like probably 3 weeks ago now. So what ended up happening was I had completed the install of that sunshade cover, and when I went to go close it back up to cover the sunroof, it would only go like a quarter of the way and would retract, and it kept doing that, right? And so I thought it had to be initialized, so I went through the initialization procedure, and the initialization procedure basically forces it open. And so that point where it was sticking at, once it got past that point and it forced it open, it ripped that sunshade cover and basically destroyed the new sunshade cover that I bought. And I was kind of baffled as to why I did that. I asked a guy on one of the Facebook pages for these cars that had done a few installs already, and he told me that there's actually a pin that needs to be pulled from a brand new sunshade cover when you install it. There's a little metal pin that kind of keeps it retract for when you install it, and then you pull it once it's installed to kind of allow it to come all the way open. So moral of the story, don't do what I did. I'm a freaking idiot. I forced it open when I shouldn't have, because there is a safety feature built into the car where once it detects any kind of resistance, it just retracts. So that should have been a dead giveaway to me that there was something wrong. But I went through with it anyways, and I forced it open, and I destroyed that brand new sunshade cover I bought, so I had to buy a replacement. So this is actually what I'm talking about here. Right there, there's a pin that has to be pulled. That little metal spring looking thing, you can see it goes in. You can see where it comes out on the other side. But yeah, that little pin keeps the tension on this thing for when you're installing it, and it's something that needs to be pulled when it's installed. In my defense though, all the instructions I had, they didn't mention any thing about pulling that pin. I have a service manual that I downloaded for like a 2014 CTS, and there was no mention of pulling that pin for that. And then obviously there's no other videos on YouTube of how to do this install, so I guess I had to learn the hard way, as they say. But anyways, we've got the replacement part now. It's a few weeks later. I've already went ahead and dropped the headliner already, so this one's ready to go in, and we'll pick back up where we left off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so as you can tell, we have our sunshade installed. Things to note here is you have to make sure that that little notch right there goes into that track there, because that is what lines the sunshade up so that it moves in its track properly. So make sure that is lined up there. This should all kind of mount in real flush. You kind of have to mess with it a little bit to make sure that the sunshade itself grabs the little plastic teeth of the drive cables that come from the motor. So once it grabs there, it'll go up in more flush, and then you put in the 4 screws that come with the new sunshade cover. So if you look right there, the front screws are like gold, and then the back screws are the black ones. I put the front ones in first on both sides. Make sure you don't over tighten them, because it is plastic, so that plastic will kind of give and will over tighten. So definitely don't over tighten them. I kind of did and had to back them out a little bit, but we're good. And then the back screws are kind of hard to see. It's really hard to get the camera up in here, but the other screw is right above where the spindle is for the actual sunshade, where it rolls up. So that's the back screw there, and then the front screw is that gold one, as I mentioned before. And so just make sure it's all mounted flush. I did plug the battery back in and tested it real quick just to make sure that it would open and close before I put everything back together like I did last time, and then destroyed it. So it's good this time now, and I'm just gonna put it all back together, and then I'll show you guys the final operation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the headliner is all back together. and we should have successful operation of the sunroof. As you can see, boom, she's closed. You might have to perform an initialization procedure. You can Google that. I didn't have to. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the video out here, guys. Thank you for watching. Please leave any questions you might have in the comment section below. I'm gonna put the part number in the description. Don't forget to pull that stupid pin out of the part when you install it, because it cost me a part another $250, but $1,500 at the dealership. That's how much they wanted to replace it, and for about $250, if you do it right the first time, you can get it done, hopefully by following this video. So anyways, it's been your boy Jamal. Remember to please comment, like, subscribe, and subscribe on the video, and it really helps the channel. It really helps me out to, you know, put these videos out for you guys. But anyways, see you guys in the next one. Peace.